off as a blog and really started doing a lot of reporting in the fashion space about how the fashion industry could be inclusive. I started going to New York Fashion Week, and I would cover it for other outlets, but then also hold the ticket in for myself. And then, also go into Vogue and write different recaps of shows that I couldn't even get press tickets to, but I really wanted to cover. We were talking about the models, we were talking about body diversity, we were talking about age diversity, long before it got popular, I would say, to talk about diversity, inclusion, and belonging. I am so thankful because that hard work of working on The Blonde Misfit and really pouring myself into that has allowed The Blonde Misfit to be ranked in the top 100 fashion and top 100 beauty sites in the world, because that list also encompasses your big brands like Allure and Vogue and whatever else. So I'm really, really proud of that, because it just goes to show that there is still a space out here for bloggers. There is still a space out here for people to tell their own unique stories. And, when you create space for others, it really means a lot. So when I started The Blonde Misfit, I didn't think that this was going to be something that I was going to carry on. Like, if you had told me back then that I would still have it almost 10 years later, I would have looked at you crazy. And that's because, honestly, I thought, as many people do, that you use your side hustle to kind of get you into your 9 to 5. Now, it did work for me in many ways, because when I started working at BuzzFeed, I was able to really show them my portfolio of work with The Blonde Misfit. Even when I went to Yahoo twice, I was able to show them a little bit more about the work that I do in my reporting, and it did allow me to have some more opportunities. And then even at LinkedIn, I was actually taking a lot of the clips that I was doing as a freelancer because I was broke, or taking the clips that I had for The Blonde Misfit and posting them on LinkedIn. In many ways, me even just showing up and taking that first initial step was really sort of what allowed me to start getting my impressions up, my page views. I definitely recommend that if you are a writer, that you are sharing your clips actively on LinkedIn, and then you're adding that extra storytelling. And then the only thing I found is that the more I started to increase storytelling, the more I started to increase telling people more about the different parts of my life, and even opening and broadening up my topics, that is when it really took off. So even though I talk a lot about fashion and beauty, the brand has grown tremendously over the last few years, that we now incorporate a lot more lifestyle. I've done a lot of campaigns and influencer work, and also a lot in the financial space. I'm not the best with finances, but my mama did teach me how to do a checkbook, so I'm very proud of that. I know how to check my bank account to make sure I didn't go too crazy over the weekend. I'm very proud of that. But I'm not really what you would call a financial girl. But I have been able to talk to a lot of Black and Brown people about the importance of financial literacy. Last year, around this time, I actually had the partnership with QuickBooks, which was not only one of my most rewarding projects, because everything we did in English, we also did in Spanish, so that we could touch and talk to two different audiences. But it was also my most paid campaign to date. And the reason why I emphasize that is because when you're a creator, sometimes you're trying to really figure out, well, when is the money going to come? And I'm just here to tell you guys that my journey has not been easy. I know it looks glamorous. I know I have like the colorful background and everything like that. It's been a lot of heartache and a lot of hardship. But the reality is, I tell everyone, my tagline is, your dream life is a life worth fighting for. And when you get into those opportunities and you show up for yourself, that is when you can start getting opportunities like QuickBooks. I've had the opportunity to work with AARP to talk about retirement, or even the retirement wage gap that exists because of the gender wage gap. I've had the opportunity to even partner with brands like Microsoft before I started working at LinkedIn, and talking about all of the financial tools that small business owners can accomplish. So really my biggest point here is that, anything that feels too big for you is not out of reach. You can achieve any and everything that you put your mind to if you're willing to show up authentically as yourself, and you're willing to actually put the work in. So, as I mentioned at the beginning part of my talk, The Blonde Misfit started as a blog. We're still there. You can check me out on TheBlondeMisfit.com. But then we also said, well, how about we start reaching into social media? Because this is where a lot of bloggers are also, grabbing reach. Instagram is still my largest platform to date. I have about 38 or 39,000 followers, which, to some people, they're like, oh my God, that's so many people. And some people, they're like, that is nothing. To me, I'm just kind of indifferent because, algorithms and everything else. I also have a very engaged following on Twitter, although it's significantly smaller. But I will say that I've had a lot more opportunities and brand deals come from LinkedIn, from posting and showing up. I tell people that the different buckets of your social media should feel like, you still sharing your story, but in a different way. So for instance, on Instagram, it's very image driven. I'm very colorful. I show my outfits. Sometimes I will do on my stories. I'll take people along with me on the weekends when I go out, or showing them my dogs, right? On LinkedIn, it's more about how do we start sharing like these insights from a place of knowledge. And the thing about this that I really want to also emphasize for you all, since you all are creators, is that sharing from a place of knowledge does not mean you have to deem yourself an expert. The word expert feels so daunting for people, but I realize that you inherently are an expert of your own life. So that is where you share from. For me, when I get on in LinkedIn and I'm talking about the things in the industry, I'm not talking about it from a place of a data analyst or a financial guru or something, because that's not me. But what I can share is from my own personal life, my own personal shared experiences. What are these things doing and how are they helping move the industry forward or regress back? And what you would find is that the very audience that you are seeking will also find you. So when you start showing up and you start posting this content, people will find you. This is how I've been able to grow a platform on Instagram, on Twitter. I only have like I have about 75 now, like follower or subscribers on YouTube. I'm still trying to flex that muscle. It's a little bit harder on what to do. Or even TikTok, and the numbers are slow and steady, but they grow. Again, this all comes back down to you just authentically owning your own story as a business owner. And what that then allows is for people to then find you. I've already had sponsored brand deals on my TikTok. And this is encouraging for you all, hopefully, because we also often hear the people who get the millions and millions of followers on TikTok before they can start monetizing. Absolutely not. You can start monetizing wherever you are at. And I think now is a beautiful time in the creator economy space where years ago, you might have had to have a large following, but nowadays marketers are not seeing your following as your measurement of success. They're actually seeing the quality of the nature of the conversations that are happening. So my biggest tip to you off platform is to really focus on engaging that community. Yes, grow your following, but also providing really great content that speaks exactly to who you are as your own business owner and creator. When you are a business owner, you can start one place and you will end up others. You just have to figure out how do you start cultivating your storytelling. And then also, this was actually something I was reading the other day on Glossy, and I resonated with it so well, is how do you sort of continue to reinvent yourself? Sort of like in Greek mythology, a phoenix dies every night and then rises from its own ashes in the morning. You as a creator should think about, well, what is the longevity of my career? If I had just pigeonholed myself to just fashion and beauty, like just those topics, there are so many brand campaigns that I would have not been able to do. I wouldn't have been able to execute my most recent partnership with Office Depot because I wasn't talking about fashion and beauty. I was talking about being a business owner preparing for the holidays. Thinking about like the long-termness of your brand is so important. But here's the best part. You don't have to have those answers today. You just have to get started. I also want to say that, your brand can also evolve to be things that you never expected. So I've always known that I like to be in front of camera. I was a musical theater kid, and I still want to pursue acting one day when I grow up. But I always knew that I loved just having conversations with people. I knew that this is what actually motivated me. The first time I ever realized that was when I was blessed to take the stage at South by Southwest. And everybody else in the back was panicking, arms sweating and shaking and stuff. And I was like, let's go, baby. It's time. And I sat on that stage, and I remember my soul lit up. And there are just wonderful moments in life when our souls just light up when we're walking in purpose, right? So with that being said, I always knew that was something that I wanted to do. But at the time, with my vision, I only could see The Blonde Misfit as a website. Well, aside from The Blonde Misfit having a website, now today we also have a podcast. A lot of people kept saying, Jamé, I just want to hear you talk. I just want to hear you crack up and tell jokes. And so one day during the pandemic, I said, let's make a podcast. Then also I started the YouTube channel because I was like, you know what? I really want to start getting more comfortable with cutting video and editing myself, and then figuring out, how to make quick cuts and how to tell a story succinctly in a certain amount of time. Now we have a YouTube video. YouTube channel. Oh, by the way, by posting on LinkedIn and showing up and posting my photos, but then also talking about my work, as a live stream host when I was at Yahoo launching the beauty vertical, Amazon Live came knocking on my door. Now I have an Amazon Live shopping show. So I say all these things not to brag, but to tell you that you don't have to have every answer figured out right now. You just have to be willing to start. And you have to really listen to yourself as a business owner, as a brand owner, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, and ask yourself those questions. Who do I want to be in 5 years? How can I start showing up as them now? So focus on your community, start with wherever you are at now, but then also think the long-term gain and start showing up as that person today. Okay, that's my spiel.